She won.
Wow. Good countdown.
You didn't tell us when.
Oh. Won.
Hello.
Was great.
Welcome. It is good to see you guys again. Thank you for joining us on this adventure with the Keep. There are going to be some crazy shenanigans, I can already tell. I feel like I say that every week and y'all haven't let me down yet.
That's fair.
Y'all are just zany. We'll go with zany, a group of zany individuals.
That's a kind way to say that.
I was usually Looney Tunes.
I mean, I feel like that's not terribly far off.
No, we'll have to do a comparison at some point.
At some point.
Duck season, rabbit season.
Who would be Wile E. Coyote? That's all I want to know. And who would be the Roadrunner?
We can't tell who you're pointing to, Jeremiah.
The screen will when it's up on the thing.
Okay.
I know who's where.
God, you're the only one who knows who's.
Which one?
Okay, so before we actually jump into the game, we do have a couple of announcements. As usual, you should totally check out Take This, which is a nonprofit organization doing a lot of good work to increase support for those with mental health issues in the gaming community. So awesome, yay. Donate if you can. If you can't, check them out, look them up on social media, like a tweet. Speaking of liking tweets, you should also check us out on social media. We are The Keep RPG across forums. You should see that lovely text written at the bottom of the screen. So check us out. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all the places.
And TikTok.
And TikTok, yes.
And I get excited about that because not a lot of people know about it, and it's growing quickly, and I love it.
So yes, find our TikToks also. Also on YouTube, other things you can totally check out would be Jay with Pandaverse and Garrett with Night Shift Night.
Oh, hi.
Garrett, you have something there, and I'm very curious about what you just pulled out. Is it something you can show on screen? That's the first question.
It is not inappropriate.
Is it branded?
No.
Will it get us sued?
No, I'll save that for my OnlyFans. No, I'm a bad influence.
I wasn't expecting.
No, so I haven't. Shh, it's okay. So I haven't talked about it much. I'm actually going back to school, kind of, sort of. I'm taking welding classes. It's partially for my job, but it's also because I'm a crazy person. So there's this show that happened that was really cool that I liked a bunch. So I'm working on making a suit of armor, and I'm going to make it out of, I have bought steel, and I'm going to build cool stuff.
Oh, that'll be so cool and very heavy.
Totally. No. I have a full set of steel armor, like 6 feet away from me. That stuff's not that bad. He says
just casually.
Yeah. No.
You don't have that in your room 6 feet from you?
No, but yeah, I'm gonna eventually start working on this and welding it together, and I'll put it on the UbTub. So
that's awesome.
That's like way down the pipeline, but this is the preview. Yeah,
that's very cool.
I'm still working on the foam trooper, so that.
Cool.
Eventually, I will get the next part done. It's the upper body.
Fun stuff.
I feel like every time when it's like, oh, Garrett's got a YouTube, I feel like I have to have something to talk about every time. So it's like, oh, wait, that's back there. Yeah, hey, look, cardboard. Yeah. Night Shift Night, yeah. Anyway.
Very cool. Jay, you want to plug anything about Pandaverse?
Plug it in.
Well, we just got done with the jump scare stuff, and I played a game that literally kept me up till 4 a.m. the next morning because it was terrifying. Hey. I sent you a little clip on the thing, and it was absolutely hilarious. But I noped out of that game real fast.
I so want to like somehow be on there with you so I can egg you on and just be a terrible friend.
One day I will have you as a guest.
I was just
Oh.
sitting in the other room
Yay.
listening to Jay scream randomly, and it was quite hilarious.
So now we're playing some beta testing games. So that'll be fun. And that's on Friday nights. Yeah.
Can you tell us any of the titles you're gonna play?
One I can. But I don't remember what it is. But I have a list. 3 of them I can't actually talk about on stream because of
Copyright stuff or something?
NDAs.
NDAs. Thank you.
When you actually play them though on your show though, like
That's when I get to announce it.
Can you give general game genres, like what type of games you're playing?
One is a Dragon Rider flight simulator type game where you fly around battling other people with dragons.
sounds
Pretty awesome.
really cool.
Another is a building survival type games that I love.
Those are fun.
Which
Always
apparently
fun.
there are some surprise elements in there that they won't tell me about because they want to get my reaction,
Nice.
which means I'm going to cry. And then there's one that is actually done by a studio that has one of my favorite game genres and game series. And that's all I'm actually allowed to say about it, but it's an RPG.
Cool.
And I'm super excited about that. So yeah,
Wow.
that's all I got.
Wow.
Cool, cool, cool. That sounds really
Wow.
exciting. Like a lot of good stuff coming up.
Woo!
That was synchronized. Yeah.
One other thing for y'all to check out while y'all are cruising around in the TikToks and the YouTubes and the Twitch spaces. Dinner and a Game. We are co-hosting with them as they are trying some new things. And it looks like some of those are actually working out pretty well for them. So head on over, give them a like. They're pretty awesome. Have I forgotten anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Good.
Okay, I don't think I have either.
So we can jump into the craziness.
Let's do it.
We will jump into this craziness. So, when last we left our heroes, after arriving in Dragenthrone and learning some unpleasant news about the state of the city, the 11th Hour reunited with old friends, Sarai and Vanera, and made new friends with Gertie of Gertie Gadsworth's Gamut of Goods and Parker of the Dragon's Guard here in Dragenthrone. The following morning, the group awoke to find Val and Vanera both missing. Val, who had sleepwalked to where he had accidentally communed with the one who pulls the strings, the power behind his mysterious sword. And on his way to reunite with the group, Val had actually found traces of the fiends that had kidnapped Vanera at some point in the night. Upon defeating the fiends, the party was surprised by a coatl, Fidelius, who gifted Kazator one of its feathers before returning to its mission. You made your way to the surface, tensions rising as the party ultimately decided to temporarily split forces.
Because that always works out well.
Halberd and Rye took Vanera through the library to the chapel. They shared a quiet moment and built some understanding, and allowed Halberd to meet Rye's cousin Steady, who he liked a fair bit more than Oust.
Not saying I have
Celiax,
one.
Kazator, and Doran left the city's boundaries to make a grand entrance and meet Desmond. Kazator and Doran pausing along the way to buy some horses, while Celiax took a moment to bid for forgiveness from his deity. Val, meanwhile, headed over to Gertie's to hopefully gain some more information and prepare for the upcoming conflict. We will go ahead and pick up... We will pick up with Celiax, Kazator, and Doran.
Da, da, da.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
So Celiax, these horses that we had to get, they ended up running about 200 gold. Could we get reimbursed from the party funds for that?
Yes,
Running
please.
a bit low.
Well, first off, I want to insight check him because I
Okay.
asked him for my money.
And they,
Okay.
they were hard to find.
For a purchase you asked
Kazator.
for.
Kazator, go ahead and roll a deception check.
Did you hear Doran speak?
I did
They
not.
were very hard to find, and we couldn't find a better deal.
So, Kazator, I will take that as assisting you on your roll. You may roll with advantage. Suliex, these trustworthy fellows of yours, what are you specifically being insightful about?
Phone.
The actual price, because I mean, he's asking for my monies, and that seems egregiously expensive for horses.
Where's my money?
They were 80
They
to
were
100.
name
I looked up at
brand.
the other ones, but
Their name
They
brand.
were named brand, remember? We had to scratch off and redo the saddles.
Those seem egregiously expensive. But
all right,
All right, so contested roll. Kazator, what did you get?
30.
yeah,
30.
nope. I got exactly half of that.
All right, all right, all
A
right.
natural 19 plus 11. So.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, I suppose I could pay you back. Would you prefer gold or silver?
Whatever you need to offload would be possibly gold, since your bag is weightless essentially, and mine is not.
Fine. Well, okay. Oh,
Copper.
here.
A
Here.
mixed is fine.
Is this coming out of the party fund, or is this coming
Oh,
out of
100%.
Sully?
No, this is party funds, my man.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I will give you, what would that be? 50 gold and 500 silver to each of you.
Each of us? I paid for all of it.
You almost got
Okay, fine.
double.
Here, have 100 gold and 1,000 silver.
20 minutes later, Suliex finally finishes counting out the gold pieces.
It's not, actually, it's fairly simple because I keep it in, this is why I have so many coin purses, because I keep it in bags of 100.
Okay, so only a couple minutes later
Yeah,
then.
it's just, here's a bag of 100, here's a bag of 100. So there you go.
At some point, I share the love with Doran and give him 250 silver.
All
That way I
right,
don't
so
have to
you'll go
carry
ahead
around
and you pocket that
1,000.
You said 250?
Yeah.
silver. Yes,
Okay.
25 gold pieces worth.
Y'all are amazing. I love this. I love
We have
everything
so
about
much
this.
silver and copper, I had to get rid of it somehow.
You might try going to a bank or a
Feist.
money lender in the city
No,
and
that's
get
no
it
fun. I can
exchanged.
throw it at the bar and dance for your money. All right, so I
I
suppose
cast prestidigitation to give myself a platinum piece and hey, can you exchange me for 10 gold, Soyex?
no. Why would I do that?
Oh, fine. Worth a
I
shot.
just gave you 1,000 silver. Why would I exchange you? All right, so
You need platinum. You're offloading more.
What
That
is
was
our
me.
plan of attack?
That's
Right.
probably a more pertinent question.
Yes. Money is great.
you have the
We're
horses.
going to go
I
back
have my
into
horse.
the city.
Oh, do you guys want to? What is the plan? Are you guys just going to ride in with me? Is that the plan?
That seems appropriate. I mean, I've got my blue on and silver, so I'm trying to blend with you like I'm, I don't know, like a squire or something.
Okay, I have my fancy robe on that Rye bought me.
Yeah, and
So,
I think we said that
maybe.
the blue, Lauren, isn't the same blue, but it's like more navy, I think.
A little darker, yeah.
Yeah. So like, Suliex, since I don't know all of the ins and outs of the ways of the teachings of Bahamut, if I'm to behave as though I'm some sort of squire or something, are there some basic things that I should know to not get me in trouble when we get to the church?
You could just be a friend of mine that I have. Let's say this. Let's say that you and Kasator were people that I have employed for extra protection as we travel, and have slowly been teaching you the ways of Bahamut.
That'll do
So
good.
that way we're not close friends, and so you're not overtly targeted by being within proximity. You're more of a hire who may become a friend at some point.
All right. Would I need to know, should the two of us know any sort of respectful greetings or anything, a way to bow, any sort of... When we get to the church, is there something, are there any things, any niceties we should know to keep us out of immediate trouble?
I think nothing more than what you perhaps have already been seen. The Church of Bahamut is not so, I don't want to say legalistic, but we're
I'm distracted, there's a bug on the wall.
more focused on wartime efficiencies than petty piousness, if that makes any sense. I don't really know. It's complicated. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
I'll just keep my mouth shut and follow your lead.
DM
Please
question.
try to get me killed. I want to go up north later.
Right?
Okay, Lauren.
And
Yes.
we're off!
The coatl feather that I got,
Yes.
that essentially allows me to cast his change shape ability once.
Yes, but it's a little. There's more to it than that.
Okay. My question, I guess, is you were giving a general description. You called it like polymorph slash.
There are three things that it does.
Okay. Yeah.
So it allows you to cast polymorph. So you change shape. It lasts for an hour.
Uh-huh.
While you are polymorphed in this form, you are protected from scrying or other divination spells.
Right.
And it contains Nysel's magic aura. So whatever form you take, to all divinatory effects, you read as that form. And for all magical effects, you essentially are that form.
Okay. Perfect.
Here's-
My
here's
question,
a
I guess.
Go ahead.
Okay. For
Sorry.
polymorph, it says you pick. I think it has to be a beast. Is that right, or is it creature?
Let me look up the specific spell. Polymorph.
My question is about that feather.
Creature.
Does a magic boy have to use it,
Or,
or can
hold on.
anybody use it? Because
Yeah, it says the new form can be any beast whose challenge rating is equal to or lesser than your own.
Yeah, I think it's
That's why I
true
didn't know if it was
that's-
polymorph. I had looked up the coatl and it had like the change shapes and that said humanoid, but then you had said polymorph, so I just wanted to make sure what my
Right.
limitations were.
So yeah, no, you can do humanoids. Humanoid
Okay,
form.
humanoid counts. So humanoid equal to or lesser than my level.
Essentially, yeah.
You are. Okay. Perfect.
did
So-
my question get heard or no?
I did not hear your question. What was your question, Garrett?
My question is, does this item have to be used by a magic person, or can anybody use it like other magic items?
No,
Because-
it's a magic item.
Okay.
It doesn't require a magic user to use.
Not that I'm trying to take it away from Jordan because it's his new toy, but like if he has that information and anyone can use it, that might determine other tactical advantages later.
Sure. That's what. Yeah.
Throwing information to the wind. Let's see who uses it for what reason. I'm
So
tired. I
it's-
had a long day. Leave me alone. I'm talking.
You're good.
In game to Soliex.
Oh,
This feather that the coatl gave me to aid us, and is this an hour timeline?
Yeah,
we're
1
looking-
hour.
1 hour. Okay. Will allow someone to change a form for an hour and even appear that way to all divination magic. Might it be helpful if, say, a diva of Bahamut were to accompany you to back up your words to the church?
Well, seems interesting, but I'm concerned about A, the attention that would draw, and then B, I'm not sure if they would be. Oh, don't know if Bahamut would, or the angels around him would view that as a mockery. It seems. I don't know much about celestial beings. I studied more of like the evil side of things, because killing. But I don't.
Motivation.
I studied Celestials. Lauren, could I roll and maybe see if this is a bad idea on that scale?
Sure, make a religion check.
I would
I-
also like to roll, but I
No,
don't feel like I have
Not something.
compelling enough reason to do so.
Yeah, this is not in Doran's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Modified 20.
Well,
Ooh.
Okay. Kazator, you do know that there are many celestial individuals who are territorial is not exactly the right word, but possessive, perhaps. Their form and of any particular
they don't want you to rip off their stees.
kind of, yeah.
Don't be chomping they flavor. Respect the drip.
It's in this particular case, pretending to be a diva in service to Bahamut, would be tricky. You would have to make very sure that what you were saying was not counter to Bahamut's will, and
Right.
that how you acted was in line with the with how divas of Bahamut would think and act.
Sure.
And if you took the form of one of these very powerful celestial servants, you'd better hope that they're in a good mood and are more amused by a transgression like this than
Sure.
irritated by it.
Sure. So I guess my thinking in the moment, being a lesser celestial and taking on this higher form with the intent to aid Bahamut in his cause, basically for their master, if master's the right word, they're the one they serve, at least. Like you said, as long as it's done carefully, it might not end terribly.
Let's call this a plan C. I would suggest maybe let's not open with this plan.
Here's a question though. Setting aside the powerful thing, what is the goal of our visit to the church? What is your goal? What are we doing? Because
Well,
he and
I've
I,
come in.
we're there to help you, but
True.
what are you trying to do? You're the one with the swag. We're here to help you. So
I have
what are you doing?
I have to go see Desmond. So I've been summoned. So my plan is to, pretty much go talk to him, and then figure out as best I can where he lies within things, and then start, I don't know, figuring out who's good and who's bad and who knows what. And I don't know actually how far into this you guys can accompany me. That's why I kind of think, the hirelings aspect may not be bad, because then at any point I can be like, well, thank you for your service, enjoy your time in town, there's a festival coming up, you should stay for it. And then you can hopefully leave without causing trouble.
Worst case scenario, we'll regroup at Gardy's. We'll go
Right.
there.
And that's the thing too, I don't know what, after I go in, I don't know how much I'll be able to leave again without causing risk of exposure to everyone else. So it
That was
may
my
be one of
fear.
those things of once I show myself, we'll see what happens. But
That was my fear, that I don't want you to be stuck inside, and in particular without friends. Essentially, I see this going one of two ways. Since you were summoned, he wants you here, and in my mind, it must be to ensure that you are on the same page as him with this new alignment with an outside sect. And if not, he's either going to try and dismiss you or imprison you.
I
If
don't
not,
think he will risk attempting to imprison me. I don't know this,
Well,
but I would,
You don't want to bet on it.
right, no, but I would imagine there hasn't been one of me for a very long time, so imprisoning me might not look the best to those who are still good and true followers. However, he could try to, I don't know, sway me, seclude me away. I have no idea. I would imagine how I see this is perhaps, I don't think I'll be confined to the temple, but I would imagine that once I show myself, I'll probably be followed if everyone is as bad as we think they are. And so I don't want to risk leading anybody anywhere, but I do have to show myself.
Can I quickly get a reminder? Desmond was like the head of the Church of Bahamut, right?
Yeah,
He's the archpriest.
Okay, I just wanted to. I knew I knew his name. I just didn't remember specifically what his name was.
He is the guy. He is essentially my boss.
He's the Bahamut Pope. I got you.
Yep.
He is the one who ordained Suliex as arbiter.
I spent once they said, "Hey, you're going to be arbiter," I was with him every day as he would teach me things. And I would normally sometimes just be sitting in there for an hour a day as he was like, "Hey, here is text, you must study," and just sort of stared at me while I read stuff. It was very boring. But other times he taught me some interesting things. But I saw him quite a lot once it was decided that I would be the arbiter.
Was he just a teacher to you, or was he
Teacher, mentor, guide.
Like a friend? Close to you?
Oh,
Okay, that does a lot.
not so much friend, more of mentor.
So how blatantly do you plan to oppose him in this meeting?
I don't know if I will oppose him. I want to know where he's at.
How certainly, I think there's a real possibility of needing to find out if he is doing this of his own volition or if he is more in a state that Sarai was.
Right.
And if he is of his own volition, then, well, arguably that's much worse.
My plan is to see what I can figure out without showing my hand as much as possible. It's a tricky plan.
So it's,
to be sure.
essentially today is simply reconnaissance to
yes.
meet with him, find out why he called you here, find out as much as we can about where he is, part peaceably, and then regroup.
My argument for coming home, besides him calling me, is the Feast of Strength is coming up, and I wouldn't miss that, of course. So
Certainly.
I have reason for coming home at this time, apologizing for my delay, anything else. So
That helps me, certainly, in my expectations for this meeting, because I think with the rhetoric up to this point, I thought we were kind of going in flame tongue daggers blazing.
no.
And
No sparky booms.
not that we were going in to walk into the center of the temple and attack or something, but that we were going in to put down a firm stone hand. And
We just freeze up.
Jordan.
Did we lose everybody?
Can you guys hear anything?
and in a sticky
Oh.
situation.
That's right.
What?
Wait, you froze up there for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Ooh.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard?
Try that monologue again.
Difficulty.
What was I saying? What you're saying makes sense, and
Just rewind the tape. Play it again.
waiting on this plan of the diva or making a stir till a later time that it makes. I think now you both know that if you to get out of a sick, if you have a grand thought for its use, then feel free to.
A great thing, because I'd love to see one of us turn into a bloody dragon and kick someone in the ass.
Unfortunately, that's outside of our power, but something.
Don't ruin my dreams. Let me have
Dragon it
this,
is.
you know. Let me. Yeah, it's such a lovely thought that we can get through a fight with a dragon on our side. But in an important point, they're going to know our faces now too.
My
So
concern.
we're going to need to be. You and I need to be tactful.
I can
here.
disguise myself, but only for an hour.
Yeah, well, you know,
This
who
is
knows
part
how
of
long
my
we're going to
plan
be in
for
there.
wanting you guys to not be close associates of mine, because I want to be able to give you guys as much of a distance as possible, if you know what I mean.
So it's Master Sullyx or Boss Man or whatever. We're not friends.
I mean, there's no need for any title such as that, but no, I
Oh,
I
but you know
employed
what
you.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you were
We'll just
If-
address you as Arbiter then.
what was that?
How's that?
Oh, no, you're cutting out.
Of course I am.
No, not you. I
Garrett's
thought West tried to say
fine.
Yeah, we're having. What was that again, Garrett?
We'll just refer to you as Arbiter, just to keep it plain and simple. But
Yeah.
daylight is going to start getting low the more we talk, so we should get moving, eh?
Right.
Ready if you
All
want.
right.
So I'll put on my blue robes in if we're just doing regular forms, and that blue, silver and blue ring I'll put on.
All right. As y'all begin to make your way to the city gates for your triumphant entrance, we will go ahead and pause that scene for a moment and jump over to Val.
No, why? No.
Yay! He's still being haunted.
All right,
by a-
Val,
There are many much more important things there has to discuss.
you are at Gertie Gadsworth's Gamut of Goods in the back kitchenette area with Sarai currently. Sarai has made some more tea, which seems to be a standard at Gertie's. Gertie brought you back here and settled you down, calmed you down a little bit, and reassured you she'll be right back in just a moment. She's got to check on the front of the shop, make sure everything's okay. So Sarai sits down with you, gets you your tea, you hold it, and it is warm in your hands, this little ceramic cup, and she looks at you and says, I hate to have to ask this, but are you actually all right?
I feel like my definition of all right has changed drastically over the last 6 to 8 months. Living in a constant state of WTF is going on here.
That's what right there. You crazy.
But for the moment, I have a feeling things are only going to get worse before they get better. And this is a much different group than I'm used to running around with. And I've actually come to care a great deal for the people I surround myself with. So preparation is definitely going to be key to survival. That and the allies we align ourselves with, and those we choose to make our enemies, those who have chosen to make us our enemies. It's all quite a bit crazy, let's just be honest. I do want to apologize for earlier today. I know we made a lot of quick decisions regarding Vanera and you and the team, and did not bring you in on the discussion, more told you than battled options or discussed options. And that may not have been, or may not have, it was not fair of us to assume that we knew best and not discuss that with you. So I do apologize for not asking you first. I did want you here, and I know the others did as well. You are a friend, you are an ally. I know Celiax considers you a friend. And we don't... You know more about what's going on than we do. You know the ins and outs of of things, and your knowledge is indispensable at this point. It's very important, but that does not negate the fact that we acted on your behalf without talking to you first. So I apologize for our rudeness. He's going to take a sip of his tea and pinky out and everything. I don't know. I don't drink tea.
You should expect it.
I must admit, I did not expect an apology. Thank you.
I don't know why people don't expect apologies. They're actually rather nice people. Okay, some of us. You know Solyax, never mind.
Solyax is not given to apologies in general. And you'll forgive me for saying your group has not presented the most kind or considerate outward appearance. You're all very passionate about what you believe to be true and deliberate about acting on that.
That is probably the kindest way anybody has ever put that we are a bunch of compulsive assholes.
I will not argue that statement with you, although you said it, not me. I've learned kindness as part of my training. It is part of being a good cleric for the people, for those I interact with. And I failed. I failed to protect Vanera. Right under my nose, she was taken from us. So if you had a place where you were confident she could be safe, I could not argue taking her there.
I mean, that's a fair point. I don't argue that our decision wasn't the best we had at the time. Doesn't negate the fact that we just kind of made the assumption that you would be okay with it. So,
Truly, I do wish I could have gone to say goodbye at least.
Well, the idea is that this won't be a forever home. It'll be a place where she can be safe until we can make this place safe for her. This is where Bahamut called her. This is where he chose her service. This is where she belongs unless called otherwise. So, and it's not like we don't have access to her. Thankfully, you know, the other member of our party, Rai, has access to the library and the chapel, and so if need be, we can get you to her. But I think for the moment, probably the safest bet is for you to help us make this place, her home, safe for her.
Hopefully we will.
That is indeed the hope. Whether or not we succeed, it remains to be seen.
At this point, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm not entirely sure what that is going to entail. My job is usually to bury the dead, make the dead dead, or make the living dead, I should say, and move on. So this whole sticking around thing is rather new for me.
I do think that is where we have our largest difference. You make the living dead, and I make the dying live.
Yeah, usually I only make the dying live if they're actually... Okay, this is going to sound rather cruel, but this is...
Sometimes cruelty is necessary.
I'm so... Okay, no, not playing that one. But
Someone healing word. That was a good burn.
Cure wounds. But my bringing the dead back to life usually only entails them needing to be alive. for some use, rather than just for the sake of them being here. I'm not very good at like the whole fixing things, if you haven't figured that out yet.
No, I had noticed. I had very, very well noticed. You view life as something for useful individuals, as I see life as a gift. And if death can be fought off for even a moment longer, it should be. If it is within our power to grant that, then that is our calling.
So
At this point,
okay,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, at this point, you see Gertie, who had started to enter the room and paused by the door as you and Sarai were finishing your conversation, or as you were speaking. She enters in and sees you sipping your tea, and you just get this satisfactory attitude that sort of you get a glimpse of that in her. Like, yes, this is right. Okay, you're calmer. We can start dealing with this. All right, now let's address this. As she moves to the counter to grab a cup of tea for herself and brings a stool over to the table where the two of you are seated. She says, "Oh, I do hope I'm not interrupting such a lovely conversation the two of you are having. It's so nice to see young folk getting along."
Well, considering the first time I met her, she tried to knock my head off of my shoulders, I'm glad to see us getting along as well.
Oh, dearie me, and did you deserve it?
Likely, I may have repressed the memory a little bit.
Oh, that's no good. That's no good.
Knowing
Memories
myself,
like that are meant to be remembered. You can't just forget something like that. What purpose does it serve then?
she did hit me rather hard. It kind of jawed a few things loose, and I don't have a whole lot to be jawed loose anyway.
Very well. You see her sort of wink over at Sarai, very subtly, but your passive perception is high enough that you pick up on it. Now Sarai just sort of smiles into her tea.
So while we adjourn from our cleric bashing at the moment, Goody, I do have a few questions for you, if you don't mind. Just trying to get a better sense of where we are in the grand scheme of things.
Of course.
You seem to have the trust of those around you, which is fantastic. But you also seem to be someone the others feel or seem to report to. There's no gentle way to ask this question, but how? What exactly do you do, and how did you come to do it?
Oh, you're charmingly naive, aren't you?
A little bit.
Oh, my goodness. Well.
Shut up, Brenda.
When I was young, I liked to gossip, I suppose you could say. Oh, it's so embarrassing to admit to now. But I was exceptionally curious. Might even say a bit nosy. Oh, don't look at me like that. I'm much better in my old age. I'm much more distinguished now. But I suppose I'm a bit of a good listener, and I learned some secrets in my youth, and I learned how to keep those secrets. I learned the art of knowing when there were secrets to keep. It's fascinating what people will tell you if you make them comfortable enough and provide a trustworthy ear. Oh, it's fascinating. Indeed, what sorts of things you can learn.
No, that's... Being a good listener definitely seems to have its advantages, as well as knowing when and where to disseminate information that might be useful to certain causes. The
greatest skill is knowing when not to talk. It's much harder than you think, I believe.
No, that I believe. I believe in wholeheartedly. I travel around with a group that definitely struggles to keep their mouth shut when need be. One of these days I'll have to tell you an interesting story about the lair of a beholder.
Oh, it sounds fascinating. I would love to hear such a story.
Yeah.
I feel personally attacked.
But I digress. I think at the moment there are more pressing matters, and one of the things that I'd like to find out if we can is what I know you said that if we approach the coming days looking for a fight, we've already lost. And I have to admit that the logic of that makes sense. That being said, though, in some instances fights are inevitable, as well as sometimes you find them even when you don't go looking for them. My limited, very limited experience being that it would be better to be prepared for a fight and not have one than to enter a fight unprepared. And so I guess my biggest question is, are there supply shops and inventories that we can peruse for things such as potions, weapons, armors, shields, magic items, anything that we can get in the coming days rather quickly to better prepare ourselves in case there is a fight we cannot avoid?
Make a persuasion check.
Can I guidance myself on this?
Very briefly, yes, you may.
I forgot
As you were explaining, you were calling upon Sayanine to guide your words and help you find the right ones to reach through to make your case with Gertie. You don't, as you call upon guidance from Sayanine, you don't feel that moonlit warmth that you're used to, but you feel a tightening of pressure around your wrists.
Wait, what? Crap!
Would you just pick a deity and stick with it?
I picked a deity. I can't help it that she introduced something else. That was not my fault.
He's a
Pick up the
player.
sword.
I did pick up the sword. I admit that. Okay, you said persuasion?
Persuasion.
Thank you, guidance, because that made it an actual 20.
Modified
I
20?
rolled my first 20 persuasion.
All the deities want him. It's
Okay.
crazy.
I'm sexy and I know it. Anyway, sorry.
Hey, there it
I'm
is.
done. I'm done. Go ahead. Sorry. This is why I'm not a bard.
Don't you ever apologize.
Okay. So with that odd refrain of music playing in your head, guiding you and helping you find the right words, giving you the confidence in your speech of, yes, you are sexy, you do know this. That boost of confidence lends Val this natural charisma as he's speaking to Gertie. You get this
Oh my god.
hesitation from her as she composes her response. She's like, well, there are a few small stashes. You understand, we are unable to attain great weapons or armor or anything of that nature. We have some swords, some armor in case of dire emergency, of course, to protect ourselves. Most of what you seek you would find more readily available and of higher quality, purchasing from vendors here in the city.
That's actually more of what I was looking for, was a list of vendors that would have that higher quality items and who they were and what type of things. I know that there are certain guidelines to who can sell what. So a list of the stores, where they are and what type of items they sell.
Certainly. I can put together a list for you. Have it by this evening. Will
would
that give
be-
you enough time to do your shopping adventures?
Yes, I think that would be
Or shopping episodes.
right. Hey, I got to do something while you're crafting craziness. Or
Okay,
getting
so you were
yourself built.
specifically looking for potions, weapons, armor.
Magic items, which I think I'm in the magic item shop, aren't I? Yeah. So things that she doesn't sell. So potions, weapons, armors. Yeah, that stuff.
Oh, materials. Look for materials.
Yeah,
for the craftsmen to make things.
The general goods store, stuff like that.
Materials and general goods.
High-end.
Soren, when did you learn to send messages?
That was the fourth dimensional crow that can like
The meta owl. The meta owl.
Yeah, there you go. The meta owl. Brr, brr. Get good shit.
The other thing I'd like to ask about is who we can rely on and can count on as allies in this city. Who maybe a list of people who are definitely not allies and should be avoided. I know that Silix is going to meet with the Archpriest to have a discussion about something. And I know that Harker obviously seems to fall under the ally category.
Clearly, yes. You said Silix is meeting with Archpriest Desmond today.
I believe it may have been today. It might be tomorrow. I know that he had to go secure something. I don't know. He's not very good at communicating.
I understand. If you see him, tell him to swing by here before the meeting, if you will. There are some things he should know before he goes into such a meeting. It's concerning if he's rushing into it unprepared. Oh dear.
DM throwing.
That was the meta
owl. When your DM throws you that kind of lifeline, you may want to listen.
Just ignore it. Go wrong.
So much.
Silix is on Gygax preparing to ride into the city.
I have no way of knowing.
No, you have a way. Just finishing this conversation first.
And that message, baby.
You have to fight this one.
I know. Yeah, I would have to use my 6th level spell to do it.
Do it, Howard.
As far as those you are probably unlikely to trust. There are very few in power here in the city who have proven themselves to be of decent quality folk. But be especially careful, if you will, if you happen to encounter Alina Kramer. She is the merchant representative on the council, and the conniving bitch functions as our tax collector.
Ew, that sounds.
She said a naughty word.
That sounds lovely.
She is exactly as lovely as that sounds.
Fair enough.
Greedy.
What was the name again, please?
Alina Kramer. Alina Kreymer.
Fair enough. This just gets more and more joyful every moment.
Also, if you're going to be around for the Feast of Strength, Silix may well run into Knight Captain Alric Chandler. There's another one you'll want to be very careful of. Pleasant on the surface, polite generally, but he is a snake underneath.
That seems to be the majority of the people we're running into most days. So fair enough.
Power attracts a certain type of individual, and it's sad to say those who do claim power fall prey to that sort of attitude.
That's okay. That is fair. Out of curiosity, do you think that you or Harker could find a way to get us any information on the feast ceremony, particularly who will be present as representatives of the Brotherhood, who will be in attendance? Will they come with a lot? Are they expecting a large entourage? The Brotherhood is obviously not something that we want to tangle with recklessly. So knowing who may or may not be there might give us a leg up in our preparations.
I can tell you now if you would like.
Oh, why do I feel like this is not going to end well? Yeah, go ahead.
As I said, charmingly naive to think we wouldn't already have some sort of information about those coming to our fair city.
You know, I don't know what you know and what you don't know, so I assume you don't know until you tell me you know.
Charming.
Ass is real.
Honesty is a good thing.
Wow.
As I said,
I
we
get to
do
twin
know
somewhere in the
that-
distance.
We do know a large number of the Brotherhood will be present. We are anticipating significant number entering the city over the next 2 weeks. Specifically, 3 very powerful figures in their hierarchy have confirmed their attendance. Brother Crenshaw, who heads the cloister nearest Cedar Grove, their largest, and if they had a headquarters, it would be that facility, I do believe.
Is that the one that we passed? Okay, just making sure.
Sister Marina will accompany him, and Brother Reuven.
Can you spell that? Crap. Can you spell that second name first?
Yes.
Marina, Marina.
Okay. And of course, our absolute favorite.
We all knew this day was coming.
Hoped this day was coming.
Yes.
Let's just be honest.
They have been invited to stay in Dragon's Heart for the duration of their visit to our city. The ceremonial integration of the Brotherhood is set to begin shortly after noon, following the morning rituals initiating the knights into their new nightly orders.
That is
We
fine.
can certainly keep an ear out for further information. And she sort of gives you a grin and a sly, of course, this is their business, this is what they're going to
Right.
do.
Do you know, have you heard when they plan on arriving, or is that still to be determined?
Within the week, I do believe. We have not heard an exact date yet. It does depend, of course, upon the weather as they sail.
That is fair, although with Reuven, I'm not entirely sure that sailing will set him back nearly as much.
Oh, do share.
Real quick, Goethe, I hope you won't take this as being rude, but just to be safe, I'm going to cast Detect Magic.
You're in a magic store.
Particularly looking around for scrying objects or the orb thingies.
She's got a whole aisle that's just stocked full of them.
Like the scrying security camera, the
We're
drone.
looking for the sensor, especially, essentially. Make a perception check.
Hey, I'm good at those. Yeah. That is a 22.
You don't see any scrying sensors around.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that nobody was watching me that shouldn't be, or listening in on our conversation that shouldn't be.
Dear, look under the table, if you will. You
There's
look
a tape
and
recorder.
you see runes that are carved into the underside of the table. With your passive perception and with Gertie pointing them out to you, you can tell they're subtly carved where a casual glance would not be able to see them. But you can see runes of protection and abjuration, this shielding magic that encloses this small space and in its immediate vicinity prevents any particular scrying from taking hold.
Oh,
They're
that
way
is
more
a neat trick. Is that? Would you mind if I copied these runes down later?
Certainly, it's quite an undertaking, though. It took nearly a year to fully enchant the space.
Oh, I'm sure, but that could come in handy for a certain location I happen to be thinking of that we were gifted for the actions of the team when my father was traveling with them.
Of course, of course.
So
When you have time, absolutely. Although,
That being-
forgive me saying, you may want one more practiced with arcane runes and sigils to assist in the endeavor. Wrongly drawn lines or at the wrong angle could be detrimental. You'd hate to have to get nearly to the end of the year and find yourself having to start all over. Such a bother. You wouldn't want that.
that would be rather perturbing. But back to Reuben. So Reuben is one of those people who seems like a good person on the surface, and then you find out that he's actually an ancient white dragon.
Sarai sets her cup down with a loud clink.
Wait, didn't we tell her this already?
Not that about Reuben.
Oh, I thought we had. Oops.
Sarai's learning all sorts of information lately.
I just know we had that conversation though. Anyway, sorry, my bad.
Gertie takes her cup. Oh, one moment, if you please. And she gets up from the counter, or from the table, and she goes over to the counter. She opens a cabinet and reaches from the very top shelf to pull out a little bottle, splashes a generous amount into her cup,
Yes.
returns to her seat, sipping it as though nothing had changed. Fortified, she continues. That is quite good to know. It does affect our planning process.
Yeah, so you might understand maybe a little bit of the panic that was kind of induced earlier. He was the one that showed up for Xantir and
Venera, yes, I do.
Yeah,
How do you know?
Yeah. So we didn't know it at the time. We only found out later that he is actually the son of the mother of dragons. The
enemy.
the bad one.
The scaled tyrant, you
Yeah,
mean.
that one. I'm not entirely
Yes.
sure exactly how those words get put together in Dragon Throne, so I was trying to beat around the bush, but yes, that one.
We are aware of that one. We claim to be her greatest foe.
Yeah, well, Reuven and his two sisters have been, well, one of them has been a thorn in our side for quite some time. The other one we just met over in the Feywilds, and that was absolutely lovely.
You are aware, of course, that all of these are supposed to be dead. Some 600 years passed in the last Great War.
Yeah, and
Funny how life turns out.
oh gosh, Zalazar was supposed to be the Arbiter, and yeah, things are not always what they're supposed to be.
Sarai speaks up. Zelazar's not the Arbiter. And then she sets her cup down. I'm sorry, I won't interrupt.
I'll just reach into my pouch and pull out the little charcoal thing rubbings that
Do we all have rubbings on us? at
yeah,
this
no, we
point?
were all making sure
All
that,
of y'all
yeah.
were.
And I'll just slide those across the table to Sarai and say, Yeah, for your perusal. Yeah, there's a whole lot that's not the way it's supposed to be, which has been part of the headwind we've been fighting against.
While you're talking, make a persuasion check. Because you are a brand new figure coming into the situation, telling them that everything that they have been taught in their history has been wrong.
Guidance. Do I get advantage for having proof, like the rubbings and stuff?
No, you get to have them actually listen to you because you provide proof.
Okay,
and not
fair.
toss you out on your ear as an actual lunatic.
Yeah, that would be a 23.
Okay.
19 and a 4.
Good deal.
Oh, sorry, 22. I forgot I had the -1.
The -1. Okay.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So Sarai takes the paper that you slide her way, and she starts unfolding it and carrying it over to the other table to look at. And Gertie is just quiet for a moment. You can see the wheels are turning in her head as she's trying to make these connections and see what this changes and what this alters. And she's just sipping her tea as she's trying to figure this out and what this actually means for any of her plans for moving forward. So there's just a moment of quiet that fills the space.
Val, let's sit for a minute, and I apologize for dumping all of this on you at once, but if we're going to trust you with the truth, then now would be the time to do it. Give you time to prepare and adjust things accordingly. Without going into a lot of details, this is for time's sake. And just for the sake of brevity, I'll kind of spill out what happened with Val and deities and the things that have happened since he and Sarai last saw each other, and particularly his loss of his Kalashtar abilities and his break from his quarry spirit. And it's left me a tad weaker. I say a tad, quite a bit. And if I'm going to keep our lovable goofballs alive, I'd like to be as strong as I possibly can be for them. Which is why, Gertie, I actually have a favor to ask of you. That necklace that you have in your shop, I know that you said that your life's work was in creating those. Would you be willing, when the time comes, to loan it to me, with the promise that should anything happen to it, I will spend as much time as necessary here helping you either replace the loss or securing the funds should anything happen to it?
Make another persuasion check.
Guidance! Because that's the only way I'm rolling above a 20. Oh, that's not bad. 19.
19. Okay. I'm flattered that you think my paltry attempts at the arcane would rival what your goddess has worked upon you. If it truly becomes necessary, I suppose we can come to an arrangement of some kind.
Fair enough. She and I'm about to spend the next couple days in communion with her, so there might be some possibilities of some changes that negate the need for that, but I do take comfort in knowing that that is a possibility should she choose to leave me as is.
The works of the divine are far beyond us.
You are not wrong.
At this point, you do hear the loud slam of a door and a deep masculine voice saying, "Out! Out! Everybody out!" And a commotion in the shop outside. You make, or with your passive perception, you do recognize Harker's voice. And there's a very, very like moment, a breath, and then everybody that had been in the shop starts talking all at once. Voices are raised. There's a hubbub. Harker is literally shooing people out the door. You hear rustling and rummaging sounds, and then a thunder of footsteps as Harker is running through the back door. You see him emerge into this small space. He is carrying a small bag and has a panicked look on his face. He leans in like he rushes over to the table, panting. He thrusts this bag at Gertie. He says, "Gertie, I can't stop this anymore. They're coming. You have to leave. They're right behind me. Moments. Go. You have to." And he sees Sarai and he just thunks his head down on the table. "No, get out. You have to get out. Go." And you see him starting to shove Gertie towards the back door. Gertie pauses for a moment, resists, and he abandons and goes over to Sarai and he grabs her by the arm. "Sarai, you have to leave. They'll be here any second. Get out. Go." Gertie looks at him, says, "Well then, I can't leave my shop. It'll be far too suspicious if I'm not here. No, get these two. Get them gone. Go. You, Lyra, she will hide them. Go. You know where it is. Go." And Val, you see Harker turn and look at you, and he's like, "Well, come on. Gertie passes you the bag, Val, that Harker had handed to her. And Harker and Sarai are rushing towards the back door. You see Gertie take a deep breath and head back into her shop. What are you doing?
I'm going to grab the papers off with all the rubbings, shove them back into my bag, look at Gertie and say, "If you need me, I'll be nearby." And I will run out the door and follow Harker and Sarai.
Okay. Harker and Sarai are running across the courtyard past the well into one of the houses on the other side. There's a back door open. As you're heading that way, you see Harker still holding Sarai now by the hand, or she is sort of drawn close to him. And he's pounding on the back door, not quite as frantic, but firmly. It's that sort of urgent knock, and he's knocking and knocking until it's opened up. You see a human woman holding a half-elven child on her hip. She sees him, she sees Sarai, and her face just goes white. Nothing is exchanged, no words are said. She lets them in the door and guides them into the house. You're caught up to them at this point. You hear the crash of a door being flung open in the shop behind you. You hear loud voices starting to shout, this hubbub behind you at Gertie's. Harker very quickly leads you to a small closet. And in the back of this closet, he pulls out this hidden panel. Sarai enters into this small space. The human woman passes this tiny little half-elven child into this space with her. You can see she's crying now, but trying to stay very composed. Both the woman and the child, you get the sense with your insight that this is not necessarily the first time this space has been used. It is a small space, but there's room in there for you to squeeze in with them. Are you going to?
No, I'll actually grab the panel and shut it behind them. And then rush to a window and just try to peer across to where I can see Gertie's.
You look at that, you see this human woman. Harker leaves you, like where he's at. He sort of looks, he glances at you, does a brief momentary pause, and then rushes out the back door he came in, back to the shop. You see him just racing, trying to get as far away from this place as he can, getting back to where this hubbub is happening. The human woman looks at you and she's like, if they find you here, they will not stop searching until they find them. I have another hiding spot. It is not as good. It is more easily found, but if they find you, they cannot find my daughter. They cannot find her here. Will you hide?
I'll make my way out shortly. How many? Real quick, peeking out the window. How many guards do I see at Gertie's?
Right now, you don't see any. They have not come out the back at this point. Make a perception check for me.
Lauren's not giving us downtime at all.
26.
26. Okay. So you hear shouts and you hear crashes and you hear a question being repeated over and over. The same voice yelling, shouting it out, and it's saying, "Don't lie to us, you old hag. We know she was here. Where is she?" You guess that they're asking about Sarai.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and we'll pause the action there. And we'll jump over to Ryan Halberd.
Hey, you know what I just realized? That was the other shoe dropping.
I don't think it was dropping. I think it was kicking. It
I was
was
gonna
drop
say
kicking.
that felt like
Right?
a kick in the.
You right?
Oh. All right, sorry. Continue.
Okay. Ryan Halberd, you are in the chapel with Vanera. You have been invited to bring her to the halls of healing, where the healers that preside here can look her over. Lysanthier, who is this elderly man, and dressed in this pure white robe, no holy symbol that you can see, sort of unaffiliated from what you can tell at this point, who has welcomed you into the chapel and sort of assessed your need, and he is guiding you to these halls of healing. You bring Vanera with you, and you are brought to a comfortable room, well furnished. There's a sort of lounging couch and a number of small seats with various tables, everything well cushioned, calmly colored in blues and greens, silvers and grays in this particular room. And you are met by this pink-skinned tiefling who is dressed in these soft gray robes, who invites you to set Vanera on this sort of lounging couch for looking her over, for seeing what they can do for her.
As we were walking, I was probably talking to Lysanthier and saying, I don't know how much Gaspin has told you, and just sort of relaying everything I can remember from Vanera going to sleep to us finding her in the morning.
Okay. He nods and says, "This is good information. We do appreciate it. Thank you ever so much. It's such a kind thing that you're doing, caring for this young oracle."
Yeah, it's not a kind thing, it's a necessary thing.
Sometimes kindness is necessary.
I just hope you can help her.
I'm sure we will. Do come this way.
I thought cruelty was necessary.
Yes!
Not anymore. Remember, you apologized.
Soldat said, I apologize for nothing.
And his whole shield rusted away upon that day.
Dust.
So this pink-skinned tiefling, he introduces himself as Kenrick, and he, I am pleased to be of service today. Lysanthia was telling me that there is some difficulty in getting this child to awaken. Is that true?
I'll just launch into the whole story again.
Okay. I see. I do understand. Well, there are a number of things we can try. Do let me investigate her and see if I can figure out what the problem seems to be.
I'll go ahead and set her down on the couch, but not step away, if you will. Kind of more just being present, if you will, Dad. All right, little girl's unconscious. I'm just going to be like running fingers through her hair. And she's like, all right, you can take a look.
Kenrick looks at you and says, oh, absolutely. Do you provide any sort of comfort you can? We find that it is often encouraging in cases like this to have a comforting presence nearby. You're doing exactly right. And he starts to glow this bright silver glow, and it sort of washes over him and then focuses on his hands. And he sort of hovers his hands over her and just tries to get a sense of what's happening with her physicality. And you see him frown. And there's a brief moment where the silver glow intensifies and then vanishes, disappears. And there's a slightly more serious look upon his face. He says, "Go, well, one moment. I'll be right back." And he steps out of the room.
Oh yeah, I hate it when doctors do this.
Is that normal here?
Admittedly, darling, I haven't really been to the chapel frequently. I am aware of it through the library. Donna has been to the chapel on occasion just due to his devotion to Bahamut, but I don't know.
Well, I'm sure the others can't be doing much worse than we are, so...
I'm doing fine.
Yes, I'm very curious what Val's up to. Left.
I think you might be right. I might just have to redact my statement just a little bit. I'm gonna just wink and grin.
Nice.
His was the troublemaker.
I'm giving you a hard time.
Oh, goodness.
So, just looking around, Lauren, real fast.
Yes.
As I'm standing here in somebody else's territory, and I know I'm thinking through everything and just reflecting on all past memories. And one of the things I was curious of, does Oust and the way he looks bring back any memory? Or does he remind me of somebody?
Make a history check. I'll call this history. I assume you're thinking of the ads are back and the events, some 200 years ago.
Yeah, my people and what would have stood out, where I might have had any type of interaction, or if I can place a face. That's a 16.
16. There's some element of familiarity to him. Something about his features. You haven't gotten a clear look at Oust specifically, not really. Not to sort of take the time to look him over and mentally compare him to figures of the past. But now that you're thinking about it, there's something vaguely familiar. But he has very fine features, obviously elven. Obviously of wood elf descent. It could just be racial heritage that's showing through. It's hard to say with the 16, but you can't quite shake the feeling there's something familiar there.
Sorry, Wesley just messaged the group.
There is a part of me though that does want to put in my notes. House, very fine features.
Hey, apparently he's got eyes for you. So,
According to Steady, Steady is biased.
she might be now too. Cool.
Right. Your thoughts, Halberd, are interrupted by the return of the tiefling, and there's a new cleric that has come along with him. This is an elderly gnome, silver-haired, softly glowing with this very comfortable luminescence. It's a warm light that sort of emanates from his holy symbol. He gives a brief bow and introduces himself as Lance. Says, I'm so pleased to make your acquaintance. I understand that there's a slightly tricky case here. Shall I see what I can do?
Lord,
Holy symbol.
what's his holy symbol?
His holy symbol is 2 intertwined silver rings. Make a religion check. Rai, you can also.
He believes in infinity.
Ooh.
15.
25. I got 25.
And Halberd was
17.
17. Awesome. You both recognize it. This is the symbol of Baranar True Silver, more commonly associated with dwarves than with gnomes, but a
People.
good aligned deity. Rai, there's not a whole lot you remember, Halberd, apart from the instant recognition of the symbol. You think you might have heard something about it from Doran, because Baranar was supposedly Moradin's bride and the matriarch of the Dwarven Pantheon. So sort of revered mother figure. You don't know a whole lot beyond that. Rai, you remember that Baranar's clerics are sort of guardians and protectors, that they archive lore and tradition and histories in addition to being teachers and healers, and that they value good health and good character of those that they guide. They sort of serve not just as healers, but as moral compasses for the communities that they choose to be a part of. And as such, they are held in high respect generally of their communities.
So just to make sure I'm understanding this, what essentially happened is the doctor left and got a specialist?
Essentially.
Rai tries to send Halberd a reassuring look, but she is panicking.
Okay.
Everything is awful. It's all falling apart around all of us.
So Lance comes in with this soft light emanating from him, and because I have an idea of what has occurred from Kenrick here. Would you be so kind as to go through it one more time for me? I understand there was some fiendish influence. Infernal, is that correct?
Starting all the way at the top and going back through the whole thing. All of it. Every little detail.
Mm-hmm. Make a history check for me. Let's see how well you can convey the information.
And I'm going to go ahead and fill in little details if she forgets any.
Okay. So go ahead and make it at advantage.
28.
28. Awesome. You spare no small detail. The bone devil and the description, and you remember now these other fiends. You're going through and you're making these connections. You remember they were called Abishai, and they're these dark ones in particular often served as saboteurs and torturers and emissaries of those they serve. So you're conveying that also, and every little detail that you can remember. And Lance is nodding along. He's tracking with it. He's like, I believe I know what has occurred. From everything that you have told me and from everything that Kenrick has said, it seems like the young oracle here has been placed under a powerful curse. And we have the ability here to break enchantments of this kind. We are well capable of dispelling this, but it may take some time. Now, there's a ritual we can undertake in an attempt to move things along more quickly, if the two of you feel comfortable in participating and providing some sort of comfort for the young one, calling her spirit to come back to us.
Of course.
To return to us, to sort of break through it on the other end also. It can be very draining, especially if it's not entirely successful. Is this something that you're willing to do?
Yes.
Very well. We shall prepare the ritual chamber then. Give us a quarter of an hour and we shall have all prepared. Do you wish to wait here, or would you like to bring her there and watch us as we get everything situated?
Where would she have been most comfortable from what little bit I recollect? You know, like, no, I'm going to take her back to the garden. You know, that's where she interacted a lot of time. That's where she and her brother spent a lot of time, was in nature, away from all of that. So while they get everything prepared, I'll go put her someplace nice.
Okay. Lance sort of nods and very well. Kenrick will lead you to our garden. We have several here. Do you prefer more wooded area or something more floral, or perhaps near water?
Not water. Let's stay away from water.
The flower garden then. Kenrick will show you the way. And Kenrick leads you through the halls to a large, well-maintained, bright, colorful, very fragrant garden. There's a winding path that leads around the perimeter. And there are flowers of all types. Amaranth, nasturtium, amaryllis, hyacinth. Very, very beautiful flowers. You recognize that many of them also have medicinal uses. So not only is it beautiful, it's also functional. And there is, with every breath you take, a scent of wellness and well-being fills you. This is obviously a sacred space, and it is very comforting for you to just walk into it. There are some comfortable lounges and seating areas that are scattered throughout, some that are in the sun, what odd indirect sunlight there is here, and some that are in the shade. So you can settle Vanera and spend this quarter hour with her very comfortably in the garden. A short time later, Kenrick comes and gives a deep bow. He says, "All is prepared." And as he sees you lift her up and prepare to bring her again, he says, "We do have some wheeled chairs to make transport of such patients somewhat simpler. Do you?" Very well. And as you walk, he begins to explain the ritual and what is going to happen. And essentially what it is there will be a number of priests led by Lance who will be essentially calling to Vanera's spirit to awaken and to connect her spirit to her body and to promote healing and well-being. and to reconnect Venera to Bahamut in the hopes that his divine favor will ease the transition from wherever her spirit has gone, wherever it's been sent from her body, to come back and to cause her to awaken. And as y'all are going, do you have any questions for Kendrick here?
I don't.
Magic and rituals are more Rye's thing, so if she doesn't have any questions, I'm going to follow her lead on that. I'm not really focused. I'm less focused on the details and more on the person at this point, so.
Okay. So as y'all are going, you get almost to the room, and Kendrick stops you. He says, the biggest way that you'll be able to help Venera, was it? Is to make a personal connection. A memory or something that you know will draw her, gather her attention and want her to come back. If you want to spend a moment thinking about what that connection might be, it will be a little while into the ritual when I will signal you, and you will be called upon to act. Or speak, or however you're going to connect with her. Once we enter, there will be a place prepared for her in the center of the chamber. And there will be circles drawn for you to stand in, nearby, close enough to touch her if you wish. Are we prepared?
Sure, what could go wrong?
Right. He knocks on the door to announce your presence, opens it, and as y'all head in, we will go ahead and pause that there and jump over to Siliex and Kazator and Doran.
Guys, why did we split the party? Well, whose idea was this?
Lawrence. It was Lawrence.
It was not mine. It is so much easier to plan for what y'all are doing when you're in one group.
I thought she said Dorn at first. I was like, dang, way to throw Garrett under the bus.
I'm the last person.
Why would you do this to us, Garrett?
Because I'm secretly Tiamat the whole time.
You're right, Garrett. We said we weren't going to reveal that till the last episode.
Ah, dang it, I forgot. Well, at least the travelers. Ah, dang it.
All right, so Kazator and Siliex and Doran, you have your horses, you have disguised attack. Siliex, have you summoned Gygax?
100%.
Okay, so y'all are heading towards the gate of the city. On the horses, you're making fairly good time.
So, Lord, I have a random question.
Yes.
For the segment. So my aura of alacrity allows any ally within 5 feet of me to increase their movement speed by 10 feet.
Yes, Gygax counts as an ally.
Yeah, fast horse!
Fast horse. Yep.
Carrying a 900-pound lizard.
No! I'm 350 pounds on a magical warhorse.
You have armor and all sorts of crap, though.
I could have summoned him as a camel, and I thought about it.
Wow. Wow.
Because that would have been a sight to behold. But instead, I went with the standard warhorse.
I can't hardly imagine Siliex riding a camel.
I could have summoned a mastiff for that much.
He has a war elephant.
That I could actually see. I could see Siliex with a big enough ego to come in righteously on his war elephant.
It wouldn't be an elephant. He'd have like a rhino or something goofy.
Yup.
So that way it could like have the thing and go. Meh.
Okay.
Anyways.
So.
Anyway. Sorry.
You are quickly approaching the gates of the city, and Siliex. Yeah. You see there's a small crowd of people who are at the gate. The guards are quickly going through the people. You have to slow down to a walk to get through the gate, essentially.
I do have the hood up on my cloaky thing, not down.
Okay. So a slight measure of disguise, almost concealment.
Subtlety.
And the guards, as they see you riding at good speed towards the gate, they say, "Halt! State your name and present your business."
I will ride up to them, look down on them, and say, "I am Soyux Voxcroft, Arbiter of Bahamut, Hand of the Church, and I have returned home. I am here. Sound the bells. Do not stand in my way, and I will ride through."
Of course, sir. Right away, sir. And welcome home, sir. They call after you as you are riding through the gates, followed very quickly by Kazator and Doran, who are just waved through this gate
And
into
for the record,
city
Lauren,
itself.
in case it wasn't obvious, I have the shield out once again. So
I figured
I'm
that was
just
the case,
grinning ear to
presenting
ear.
it out.
The dwarf is grinning.
So y'all are riding through. A brief moment later, you hear a trumpet fanfare, and shortly after that, bells throughout the city begin ringing, taking up the call, welcoming the Arbiter home. As you're riding through the city, sort of trotting along majestically on Gygax, Doran on one side, Kazator on the other, heading through the most direct route of the city to get to Dragon's Heart.
We've just killed ourselves. This is so bad.
There are people who are scattering out of your way. You get noticeable respect, some awe. What's your insight? Each of y'all, your passive insights. What's that?
16.
Oh god, hold on. iPad or non-specific tablet device. 15 for passive insight.
15 for Doran, 16 for Siliex, and
16.
16. Okay, so you all notice at this point. Siliex, this is not something you've ever noted before, but you're seeing now, while you're used to the respect and the awe, you're finding no little amount of fear in the eyes of the people as they are scrambling to clear the way for you.
They'd be scared of us.
A few brave souls do, after they clear the road, do shout welcomes to the Arbiter, and Bahamut smiles on us. The Arbiter has returned. Welcome to the Arbiter. Things of that nature, as you are called after you as you ride through the city streets up to the sacred grounds at Dragonheart. About an hour later, you arrive. The last ascent is a little bit steeper on the horses, so you did have to slow down. You are greeted at the gate. Arbiter, welcome home, sir. The guards do stand waiting to take your mount into whatever fancy stable you assume is on the other side of the gate. Your companion, sir. They are ordained?
They're with me.
Make a persuasion check.
Kira, this isn't a dwarf, is it?
No.
Okay. Well,
Dragonborn, both of them.
I figured 26.
26?
Yeah, that sucks.
There's... There's a brief pause as he sort of looks them over, but he eyes Doran in the blue and the silver, and he sees Kazator sort of in this valet or squire sort of position, echoing
I
Doran.
do a little bow, trying to be polite.
Mm-hmm. Very well, sir. Are you to meet with the Archpriest?
Of course.
I shall send a messenger ahead of you.
Excellent.
We'll let him know that you have arrived.
Excellent. Thank you.
I live to serve, sir.
Don't we all?
So you are led through the gates into Dragon's Heart. The guard, one of them, is leading you in, and calls for a runner. You're guessing a squire of one of the knights in his mid-teens, in the livery of one of the knightly orders. Solyax, you can go ahead and make a religion check if you would like.
23.
23. Okay, yeah, definitely. You do recognize this as a squire of one of the knights from the Circle of Hibernal Rest, who is here supposedly with his knight master within the city, or within the halls, sort of helping out. And you hear the guard say, "Quickly, boy, run and tell the archpriest the arbiter has arrived. Go!" And this squire races off ahead of you, very quickly. He's got some good speed on him. As you are led into this beautiful, lavish, these halls that are lofty and well decorated, and Solyax, this feels a lot like coming home because you're very familiar with most of these halls. You had much of your training here, you spent much of your childhood here. This is where you had your meetings with Desmond as you were growing up and undergoing training under him after you were ordained. And even a little bit prior to that, when you were sort of functioning as a page or a messenger yourself, you would occasionally be brought here to work and function within these halls. The cloisters are not far away where you grew up. The three of y'all are led through these halls pretty directly to the antechamber that is outside of Desmond's office. And Doran and Kazator, a valet, no particular knightly order associated with them, but dressed in the heraldic colors of Bahamut, sort of comes and gives a low bow. The archpriest will see the arbiter shortly. The two of you are welcome to wait with the other valets and I in the antechamber. I shall guide you there if you wish.
I will. I'm going to turn to both Doran and Kasator, and I'm going to give them each 2 platinum and say, "Thank you for our travels together. We do have a festival coming up in town that I've mentioned. Please enjoy yourself while you're here. I do hope to see you again, but if you so desire, you can be released from my service. If you wish to stay, do follow, and I will see you later when I am done."
Thank you, your arbiter, your holiness. If you have further assistance needed of us, we will be in town to be found.
Well,
And I'll do a bow and I'll get the hell out of there.
You do have 2 platinum, by the way.
Yeah. Which I give one to Kasator and play along, please.
Both of us 2 or 2?
I give you both 2.
Yeah, each 2.
Oh, well then never mind. I thought you gave me
I was like,
2.
nice.
Yeah. Never mind. I misunderstood.
Okay. So the valet leads the two of you over to down a hallway and towards a side chamber, not terribly far away. And as you get around the corner from Solyax, the both of you can tell his body language relaxes significantly. Because that's kind of awful. He brought you here in service to him, and are you gonna need no masters now? I can hook you up. There are a couple decent knights I know who might need someone to help them during the course of the feast coming up. You gonna be looking for work?
I'm not sure. From conversations we had on the road, I think the arbiter was going to come find us again if he needed us.
Well, better you than me. Oof.
Well,
I guess,
it's at least
Why are you so hesitant?
Aye.
he makes you call him the arbiter, even when he's not around. Don't even get to call him by his name?
That's more his thing. I call him Solyax. sometimes meaner things. Just depends on the day, you know.
I mean, what are any of these knights really but a jackass in a metal can, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I look down and then back up. Give him an eyebrow.
He really was all right, the arbiter. I think he has a good heart. Sometimes I think their posts they can get carried away with, but we have been traveling with him for a little bit of time, and I've seen him soften.
I mean, he is the sort of the poster boy of the church, isn't he? He's an important figure, at least.
Yeah, I suppose he is. You're not wrong. And you see him sort of get his shoulders set back up, and as he's walking, you notice he starts walking slightly closer to Kazator than to Doran. It's like, come on, this way. I'll take you to the waiting room. And the two of you are led to this larger chamber. There are multiple seats. There's a bar area with some refreshments set out, and there's a little bit of a crowd in here. There are a number of other valets, you would guess, who are dressed similarly in style to the man who's leading you. And there are some others who are dressed much more similarly to the squire, the younger individual that you saw earlier. And all of these squires have various symbology and heraldry about them. And they're all young. You would guess mid-teens to late teens at the oldest. The valets, you notice, are significantly wider array of races and ages. The two of you are not necessarily standing out among the valets as dwarf and Asimar, sort of human adjacent. There
What's
are
the guy we're walking with? Is he
a human.
A human.
Mm-hmm. Middle-aged, dirty brown hair, slightly curly, blue and silver in his garb.
And I have put him off.
You do notice he is not wearing armor or weapons except for a small knife he keeps at his side. Make an insight check, the both of you. As you enter this room and you're sort of getting an idea for how things are set up here.
Bueno.
Oh, which dice do I use? I use this one.
12.
Modified 20!
Okay. Kazator, you're very focused on this human man. Introducing yourself to him, he introduced himself to you. His name is Vincent. And you're spending some time getting to know him. Doran, you actually take a moment while Kazator is talking to Vincent to look at the room a little bit and how it's set up, and you realize there's a definite distance, this gap between the valets and the squires. These squires, to an individual, are all dragonborn.
Okay.
The valets are around the edges of the room for the most part. Some are seated, most are standing in small groups, 2 or 3 usually. The squires are a much larger group, and they seem almost divided by age, where the oldest ones have this sort of hierarchy, pride of place right by the bar. Whatever refreshments are available, they sort of oversee it. That's their preferred place. And most of the younger squires defer to them.
Oh, okay. I'm writing things and trying to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a bully clique that's hanging
I'm
out.
a bad note taker.
Yeah, you would guess probably 6 or 8 of the squires are in this sort of top tier. They look to be the oldest. They are the only ones that are carrying weapons currently. They each...
Who are the squires?
The squires, specifically the oldest ones. And as y'all come in, and as you're listening, go go ahead and make a perception check.
And Lauren, you may have mentioned this, and I realize I'm not there, but for their sake, are any of the valets carrying actual weapons or just like small daggers?
Just the knives for the
So the
most part.
only
The valets
armed
are
people-
not really armed.
Right. So the only armed people in here are these older squires, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And Doran.
And Doran,
Perception was 21 for me.
21. Awesome. Doran, what was your perception?
I'm trying to write things. Good lord. All
It's
right.
okay. This is a lot. I know that.
Well, the roll was a 19. Perception. So that's another modified 20.
Okay, awesome. So y'all are both being able to keep a pretty good beat on what's happening around you and what's actually being said. So you notice this group of strong, dapper squires who carry themselves with this sort of arrogant attitude almost. These top dogs are talking and gossiping a little bit. And actually what catches your attention is a name you've heard before.
Oh.
Talking about Lila. You make the connection. That was an alchemist, right? That
Yeah.
Norman had talked about, who'd had
In
her
the bar.
shop raided for a charter infraction.
At the bar, the underground bar. The speakeasy
Milo.
bar. Milo,
Milo.
right? That's where we heard that name.
The bar in the catacombs.
Right. Yes. So not with Norman, but with Milo. And this group of them were actually bragging a little bit about assisting with this raid against this woman who was acting against the church. I mean, it's just a step up from heresy, and you have to stomp that out as soon as you learn of it to maintain the holiness of Bahamut's chosen people and his chosen city. You hear them as they're bragging about this and complaining about this, and sort of this extra load of work. And I mean, it's awesome, the prestige that's coming with it and the practice that they're getting, and following along with their night masters, being able to serve Bahamut in this way is so exciting. But really it's just kind of frustrating because I mean, they're getting to do these things with their night masters, and they're going to be knights here within the next 2 weeks, and they're still barred from some of these meetings that their knights are allowed into and they're not. I mean, what's up with that? That is so unacceptable. I mean, one of them in particular is really upset. He's like, my uncle is a knight. I have traveled everywhere with him for the last 4 years. It has run in our family and I am still not permitted into this meeting. I am going to speak to my father about this. This is entirely unacceptable. And just going on and on. And you notice this smaller group of younger squires who are just like eating up the words that they're saying. Oh yes, no, it's such a horrible thing. Absolutely, we should be allowed in this too. They gotta have someone to run their messages and to take their notes. How are our masters going to function without us? We provide a vital service. Absolutely. It is horrible that we are not permitted into these meetings. It is lacking in our training is what it is. We are not being prepared for the things that we're going to be asked to do. That is a failure on them to train us adequately, and you see them give a rousing cheer and just sort of amping themselves up in that, and getting very excited. And a round of drinks is passed around. They are toasted into the air, and much ado is had. So y'all are seeing that as you're getting situated, but that's what's happening with the squires. The valets on the sort of outskirts of the room are significantly quieter. And the conversations you're hearing there are more along the lines of, yeah, his uncle's a knight, but did you see how badly he did at the Feast of Strength what was it, 6-7 years ago? I mean, he got his tail kicked. Couldn't hardly control his fire, that one. I mean, no wonder. And then this one, talk to Daddy. Daddy's gonna solve all his problems. Of course he is. They're talking, making sure there's enough distance between what they're saying and the squires so that the squires can't actually hear them. And when the squires get close to them, it's all, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. No, you're quite right, sir. 100%, absolutely, sir. It's the dichotomy is striking in the way that these two groups are approaching this. So y'all have entered into this room, you've taken this moment, you're overhearing these things, getting a general sense for how it's going. What are y'all doing?
So basically, we're in a room of shitty managers and their underlings.
Like 2 clicks.
More like assistant managers or assistant under managers who are in the training process. They're about to be promoted to a managerial position where they might have some sort of semblance of actual authority, and it's gotten to them and their ego has grown. And then also the employees who are the ones that are actually making the managers look good in the first place.
Soldiers when you need them.
It's a bunch of punks, and then the guys who are actually doing work.
Essentially.
And
Boy, I can't wait for one of them to come over and try talking shit to us.
I was gonna say, Quesator is gonna just give this look to Doran, and without a verbal interchange, can I do an insight check on Doran? Just get a read on him, how he's feeling in this moment.
Sure. Go ahead and roll an insight check. See how perceptive you are.
That's not bad.
Can he have advantage because I'm bad at hiding my feelings?
Are you trying to give him this sort of clearer view? Do you see him? Do you notice him sort of looking at you and trying to?
I'm gonna make eye contact and kind of like raise an eyebrow.
Okay, so yeah, you can have advantage on that. I'm okay with that.
Cool.
If Doran's not going to resist it.
Way worse. Okay. 23.
23. Okay, so how is Doran feeling at this moment?
Yeah, the first no, that was the better one. I rolled a 17 and then advantage. I rolled a 4.
Oh, okay.
Oof. So how is Doran feeling?
I give him a raised eyebrow and shake my head, and somehow through the ether, Quesator hears the voice of Doran in his mind, and the voice says, "These guys are a bunch of assholes."
Yeah, actually, I can do that. I'm like, hey, Doran. You just hear in your head, you want to put some children in their place?
Please tell me Quesator and Doran are about to start a bar fight.
These guys are all a bunch of assholes, is what he hears back. How would we go about doing that?
This is everything I wanted.
And he hears back, let's see how this goes.
All right.
And
we're going to go ahead and pause that.
We can't leave these two alone at all.
Bar fight. We're gonna get so arrested. I can't wait.
A short time
Halberd,
passes.
come back. Nobody's not in jail.
Fictional arrested, by the way.
That's fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's fine.
Everything's fine. There's not literal fire yet. Everything's
fine. There's nothing to see here. Move along. Oh man, fire.
Careful with that. So yes, you wait for a short time in the sort of antechamber outside of Desmond's office, and then a young aide, a beautiful young woman, long black hair, dressed in the robes of an acolyte, steps out, opens the door, gives a brief bow. The Archpriest will see you now. And she gestures for you to come in.
Fan is on because I need the ceiling light and I can't turn the fan off because it just blows all the smoke away. My ceiling fan is goofed up and you can't have one without the other.
We'll miss Doran's smoky incense. So Soliex, you enter the room and it is very much like you remember. Very little has changed in the time you've been away. And it's only been, what, a year and a half since the last time you were in these halls?
If that. Closer to a year.
You see Desmond stand up from his desk to greet you. He is an elderly, I'm going to say this wrong. I know I am. Bronze Dragonborn? Brass Dragonborn.
Oh, no, sure. Whatever you say.
I have to pull this up now.
I had no say in any of this.
I know.
She was just hoping you would remember, so she didn't have to.
A little bit brass. He is a brass dragonborn.
Is he a brass?
Brass.
He stands up from behind his desk
Right.
and he moves around. And he's Soliux, my lad. It's a pleasure to see you again. Do come in. And he gestures for you to come closer for a hug.
Oh.
Of course, upon seeing him, I will give a slight bow, and then whenever he appears more friendly, I will go up and give him a hug and say, Archpriest, it has been too long. How are you doing?
I am well. Busy, but you know how it is. The Feast of Strength is coming up very quickly and requires much of my attention.
Of course. Why else would I come back if not to see you and watch the Feast of Strength?
Oh, I'm so glad you have returned. We might have need of you during this feast.
Need of me at the Feast of Strength. That's for knights.
Absolutely. But there's... Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. Aura, do we have any refreshments available? And you see this acolyte who had stepped sort of to the side of the door, gives a brief bow. Your Eminence, tea, snacks? What do you prefer? My Lord Arbiter, do you have a preference?
Well, I have no preference. Whatever's at hand.
Tea, Earl Grey.
Tea and refreshments then. I'll bring them shortly. She gives another bow and heads on out. As the door closes behind her, Desmond goes back around his desk and gives a sigh as he sinks back into his chair. I do have to admit, it is comforting to have you home again, Soliux. What have you learned in your travels? Do share with me.
Well,
The player panic is
it's
real.
been the most interesting of travels, I'll tell you that.
I'm sure I've heard some small tale here and there.
Did you hear about the individual I found in Grimwold? Okay, I heard he came back and raised a slight ruckus.
He is not very happy with his demotion. I spoke with him about it. He understands a bit better now.
It's not my fault he's incompetent.
Oh, for you to catch him, absolutely so. You did the right thing, absolutely.
I also did find out that there was a priest at the temple in Whitebrand, and I had a conversation with him, and I came back and he was gone. So we may behoove us to send another priest out to Whitebrand. The temple itself was in sorry shape, and they could use some close attention.
Whitebrand has always been a seat of heresy. We should send a force out to strengthen Bahamut's name in that region. Reclaim the temple.
I don't
It's
know
a good
if
idea,
reclaiming
Soliux.
is necessary, but we should definitely send a few good trusted clerics and perhaps a few paladins that we believe in. I don't think anything too drastic.
Oh no, a few clerics, a handful of knights for their protection. Indeed.
Raise the temple as it should be in a prominent position.
Indeed.
But I hear congratulations or something. Riding through the streets, the Brotherhood coming into the fold. Is this what I hear?
We welcome all who wish to receive Bahamut's light into their hearts. The Brotherhood has seen the error of their ways, and we seize the opportunity to reach those who had previously not known Bahamut's grace.
Can I insight check that dude so hard?
Sure, make an insight check.
How does he truly feel
If
about the
there was
Brotherhood?
ever a time for a natural 20,
You know what? That's a natural 19.
Oh, close enough.
Inside, I said 25.
25. Now, Desmond has always been hard to read.
Uh-huh.
He keeps a lot of his emotion behind a sort of reticent exterior, where, you know, he is very deliberate about the face that he presents. You're getting some small amount of pride and pleasure at the brotherhood being brought into the church. That this is a good thing that's happened. This is something worth being proud of, bringing these individuals in.
Do I get the sense that he is perhaps acting unusual under the influence of something that denotes him to be not himself?
Zone of truth.
That's not a sense that you're getting with the 25 insight. He seems fairly consistent with how you've always known him.
Okay. Yes, I hadn't even heard of them, and then in my travels, I saw I guess it was a compound temple. I'm not sure what it was. I passed it, and honestly, I thought nothing of it. But then, as I traveled, I began to hear stories of their exploits and them helping those who need it out in the world. And well, when I came home to hear that we were accepting them, it was a shock, to be sure, but I am somewhat surprised that we would open them, but it's always
Why the
good.
surprise? Does not Bahamut have compassion on those who seek to change their ways, who have seen the error of their previous doings and now wish to pursue a new path? Is it so surprising we would bring them in with open arms?
The surprise is more of the fact that, well, if they have been so prominent, we haven't done it sooner, and the surprise that I had never heard of them before I left. Of course, bringing anybody in who is willing to admit their faults, forgiveness is a necessary part of us, is it not?
Forgiveness, to an extent. For those who repent of their ways, absolutely.
Repentance is a necessity.
For
Repentance
those
and atonement, right? Those are the two pillars that can build a strong church.
Because you gotta apologize.
You beat me to it, Garrett.
Quick draw.
I feel like he's talking to someone specifically right now.
I'm sorry, continue.
You have grown much, Silyex. Become more confident in your time away. It is good to see.
Should I not have? I thought that was a good thing.
Absolutely it is. I'm very pleased to see it.
Excellent. So, I hear that we have also had some heretics among us. In full disclosure, I received a message from my old friend. Sarai reached out to me via the same communication that you did. Naturally, I have then found out of her heresy. I have not contacted her or tried to. I seek your counsel on what to do with this.
I am pleased to be of assistance. It's truly sad how she has fallen away from our teachings.
Can you tell me what happened? I never would have thought she would fall to such a low standard.
A sad affair indeed. To see such a promising young woman fall so far from the church. From what I understand, she was taken in by the ravings of some mad child, prone to fits, from what I understand. Some number of our priests have seen it happen within the city, making wild and unfounded accusations, besmirching the name of the church.
Would that be the same child that I saw just south of Grimhold?
I believe the city Sarai had been posted to was south of Grimhold. Yes, a small town, far when
Yes,
Something of that nature.
I had heard stories as I was traveling north to Grimhold of the Temple of Bahamut there and what they were doing. So I stopped by and I saw that Sarai was there with a child or something. And naturally, at this time, I did not know of her heresy. I greeted her, did an inspection of the temple, found a few things that needed correction, but nothing too drastic. She definitely covered her tracks very well, and I apologize. I should have been more tuned. I believe I let my previous connections get in the way.
Don't be too hard on yourself, Siliex. Your emotions were honest in their time. And they may have gotten the better of you, but I believe you see the truth now.
I should have
Got a better
seen it.
idea of how things truly lie.
Well, how's the hunt been for the heretics within the city?
Sadly lacking, with so many of our forces diverted, preparing for the Feast of Strength. There are other individuals who have also fallen to this heresy. We're doing our best to maintain a sense of order and preparation for this unprecedented new event, welcoming this brotherhood as a new sect into our arms. Is unfortunately, we have not managed to bring them under the discipline of the church yet. We hope to do so soon. Guards are being increased, watches being kept. We will find them eventually, do not fear.
Well, I'm home. This is what you trained me for this, my entire life, to hunt down heretics. Send me. Let me do something useful. I've missed it once. Let me try again. We have time before the Feast of Strength. Let me hunt down the heretics within my own city.
Make a persuasion check.
Ah, balls. Not good. 10.
10. Desmond gives a big sigh. Siliex, I could not ask you to hunt down who was once a friend. It'd be unfair to you. And far too difficult a task. You're still young. You have so much time ahead of you. And if you truly are so adamant in being a part of this, I do have a job that I think you will do very well at, and it falls well within the historic role as arbiter, something only you can do. Now, when the Feast of Strength does occur, we have an event scheduled. Hopefully, everything will be ready to deal with these convicted heretics, to cleanse the city and reaffirm the church's devotion to Bahamut. The historic role, and something this massive, on this sort of scale, hasn't been seen since shortly after the Shattering. Under your watch, the River District may live up to its name again.
Good. But between now and then, what am I to do? I'm not just going to sit in the temple and twiddle my thumbs.
Well, there is a young knight in training who needs extra care. The heretic has a brother. I don't know if you know. He was accepted here into paladin training before we truly understood what had happened. We have kept a close eye on him. He is combative in nature and sadly devoted, even now, to his heretic of a sister.
I think
I
I
would-
met this boy.
Xantier by name, I believe.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
I would entrust him to your care for training and oversight. Is this something you would be satisfied with?
Well, I don't think I've ever trained anybody, but it'll give me something to do. I believe if I just sit here, then I might disobey your orders and go hunt these creatures down myself. But if you give me a task, I will set the boy right and show him the errors of his familiar ways.
I trust that you will do everything in your power to bring him back to the correct path. Don't worry too much about not having previous teaching experience. Train him as you were taught. You will do fine.
I think I can do that. I had an excellent teacher.
You flatter me, Celiax. You were an excellent student.
In some regards, sure.
Surely.
Teacher, like,
I don't have to teach him books, do I?
No. In this short time that you will have with him, if you can help to correct the error of his thinking, help him to see the true path towards serving Bahamut.
Of course.
I would hate to have to expel him from training. Truly, he is a promising young individual.
I am curious. I don't know, because he's under such close watch. Would it be permissible for me to train him outside of the city during this time? There's a cliff face back behind us. Danger can be a wonderful teacher.
I will entrust his training entirely to your discretion. Use whatever methods you deem necessary.
I will do my utmost to bring this boy to the true path of Bahamut.
I trust you will. At this point, Aura comes back in, and she's carrying a large tray, and there's refreshments, small snacks, and beverage on it. And he says, Aura, thank you. Do set it on the table there. There's a good girl. She says, I'm pleased to serve your eminence, my lord arbiter. Is there anything else you require of me? And she sort of looks over at Celiax and gives a little bit of a grin. I am pleased to serve however I may.
Well, I do believe we'll be staying here for a little while. Perhaps you can show me to appropriate quarters.
I shall have your rooms well prepared for you, sir.
Thank you. Archpriest, it has definitely been a pleasure. When should I start training this boy? Would you like me to start now or in the morning?
No. Rest from your travels. I'm sure you're weary. You have quarters at your beck and call as needed. You're welcome home, Celiax. It is good to see you.
So glad to be home. And again, congratulations on bringing the Brotherhood into the fold. It's quite a feat. You will be a archpriest to be remembered for many years.
There's a big grin that crosses his face. You do me much honor, Celiax. Or should I say, my lord arbiter. And he gives a cheeky sort of bow. Says, take some snacks on the way for you. Ara will lead you to where you need to be.
Excellent. I shall see you later then.
you totally learned from this guy.
And I will walk out of the room.
All right, you head on out. Aura, you see her in the hall speaking to one of the other pages, a younger servant in livery, but who is not actively studying under a knight. And she sends them scurrying off, and they're airing out your quarters. It will be some time before they are ready for you. Would you care to take a walk? I'm sure it's been quite a while since you've seen the sights.
You know, I think I could do for a nice walk. It has been a little bit since I've been in the temple. I would like to go to a place that oversees the city. I haven't seen it for so long. It'd be nice to see it again.
It would be my honor to accompany you, my lord. And she turns and she goes with you and leads you up to one of the oversights, through a temple onto a balcony where you can see the vast majority of the city sprawled out before you. And we will go ahead and we will pause there. and jump back over to Val. We'll go with Val briefly. Yes.
Real quick, I think there might be a slight retcon that we need to do.
Yeah.
Because I think we all forgot that Nightbane was with me.
No, we didn't.
No. I know where Nightbane's at. You're good.
Okay, because we said in the last session that he was in the room. So I was like, oh God, I forgot about Nightbane. And that would have changed everything I did.
Jay myself had a massive panic.
Like,
as soon as the scene ended, I looked at him and I was like, where's Nightbane?
Where's Nightbane?
Okay, cool. As long as we haven't forgotten.
So, okay. From Val's knowledge, is Nightbane safe or is he still in there?
From Val's point of view, make a wait, you had a perception check. It was 20 something, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can see Nightbane. Nightbane is on the roof of the shop.
Good kitty.
I like this cat.
He's crouching down. He's in the shadows. He's sort of watching over the back door. He's not aggressive yet, but he's in that sort of crouched position. He could easily pounce if he needed to.
Okay, fair enough.
Good kitty.
This is a good kitty. Okay. So are the guards still in there, or have any of them started to come out of the building yet?
None of them have come out the back door yet. You're still hearing a number of crashes, of bangs. They're still shouting. The biggest thing that you are hearing is this sort of ransacking and these questions of, where is she? She's not here. Go look in the back, look in the side chambers, find her, see, where is she? You're not hearing Gertie speak at all. You're not hearing her voice, even with that perception check.
That's bad.
Mm-hmm. All right, so help me real quick with the layout of the streets and everything. So there's Gertie's shop.
Okay, from your point of view, there's the plaza on the other side of Gertie's shop. There's Gertie's shop and a row of other shops that are next to it. The back of Gertie's shop opened into a small courtyard. There's the well in the middle of the courtyard where you guys had previously gone down to get to the sewer system to go through that to the catacombs for the first time. On the other side of that courtyard, and entrances to and from that courtyard to various houses, you would guess where other shopkeepers live and other people who live in this vicinity have their homes here. You are in one of those homes. It is it's a 2-story building. Mm-hmm. Sarai is on the bottom floor in a small closet with this small child who is they're hiding in that small space. There's a window to the back that is up on the sort of a landing on the stairwell up to the 2nd story, and you're looking out that window towards the back, the courtyard with the well and Gertie's shop through this window.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, from where I'm at, can I hear the child crying?
No.
Okay. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Okay, I'm going to... the house that I'm in, are there other houses nearby? Is it like a subdivision, or is it like this is this lone house and the next house is like 100 yards away type deal?
No. They're fairly closely packed. There's a little bit of distance between the houses, but it's like balconies and porches. You can be on one and like hop over to the other.
All right. So I'm gonna look at the woman. Never did get her name, did we?
Nope.
I'll just look over at her. Is there an access to your roof from here?
Through the attic.
Can you
Be
show
careful.
me?
Be very careful. Do not be seen.
On it. I'll have her show me to the attic, and I'll make my way up on top of the roof. Is it a flat roof with parapets, or is it like a pitched roof?
Pitched.
Okay. I will get to the side opposite of Gertie's shop and kind of peek over the roof lines where I can kind of keep an eye on the shop, but if somebody were to walk out, I can quickly duck down.
Okay. So you're just keeping watch there. Is there anything you're looking for specifically, or anything you're waiting for?
I want to see if they start searching. When the guards come out, how many come out? Does Gertie come with them? And do they spread out and start searching nearby, or do they head in a certain direction?
Okay. So you wait for it's 10 or 12 minutes at least before anybody actually comes out the back of the shop. And it's a trio of guards who come out, and they come into the courtyard a little ways. They're looking around. One of them gets as far as the well and looks down into the well. You see Nightbane at this point, who is sort of doing the preparation, or he is getting himself situated to pounce in case. And then as soon as he finds he's in a good position, you see him just go absolutely still. And even though you know he's there. He's in the shadows enough where even you have a hard time seeing him and where he's actually at.
Yeah, what time of day is it at this point?
Right around noon, shortly after noon, maybe.
Okay.
So the one you see looks down into the well, and you can see at this point, the one looking down into the well and sort of who came the farthest out is Harker. He turns and he calls, "There's nothing here. Do you see her? Have you found her yet?" And the others look, No, nothing here. Any tracks, signs of anything? She must be here." And Harker is sort of trying to take the lead on this, and no, she's not here. You hear him curse, and he leads them back inside into Gertie's shop.
Well, I guess I can't ask a question. Never mind. I was gonna ask a question, but I guess I shouldn't because I'm not there.
Go ahead and ask. Why not?
Are they all dragonborn, or any of them other beings?
No, that's actually a good question.
That is a good question. Two of them came out are dragonborn. Harker and another copper dragonborn. One came out human.
How big is this human? Is he like big burly buff dude, or is he like small, I just barely made guard dude?
No, fairly muscular and buff. Like fit, trained for guard duty, strong.
This dragon throne, they ain't gonna skimp out on guards.
Well,
They want the good one.
All right, I'm gonna keep an eye on the shop, keep an eye on them, and just keep watch and see if they start making their way towards this house, or basically what their pattern is, where they're going.
Right. They do a quick look around the courtyard. Harker is the one who comes out the farthest, and he only comes to the well. They're looking around, looking for tracks by the back door of the shop, seeing if they could have seen any sign of whoever they were looking for. And then Harker sends the other two back inside to assist with the investigation, and then stations himself by the back door, standing guard. Just outside, so within view of what you can see, but not participating in any of what's actually happening inside. About 20 or 30 minutes later, a large gold dragonborn figure in very hefty armor, showy, shiny, but from what you can see, very well kept, functional, but impressive. He comes out. Make a perception check for me.
19.
19. Okay. So you're not catching everything of what he's saying. He's not shouting. If anything, he's lowered his voice a little bit, but the gist of what you can generally get is he's asking Harker about the investigation, any sign of her back here. Harker saying, no, we looked. I had these two with me. We didn't find anything. And you see the gold dragonborn start to turn away and then turn and just backhand Harker across the face. Like, incompetent. None of these houses were searched. There's no use now. She has obviously gotten away from us at this point. This will show up on your report. Clean up here and report back to the station as soon as you're done. And you see this gold dragonborn figure walk back in. A few minutes later, there is a cavalcade of troops that you're catching crossing the plaza, heading back up and slowly dispersing in the directions back on their patrol routes through the rest of the city. They are seemingly done with whatever has happened here at Gertie's.
So is it just
Harker
Harker left at Gertie's, or are the other two there still?
Harker had already sent the other two back in. Harker goes in to the shop, disappears from view for a minute. You see Nightbane maintaining his tense posture. You see a number of civilians, lay people, slowly start to gather back around Gertie's. Oh, one other thing you did see. With these guards that were dispersing back through the city, this golden dragonborn was leading a small group. He was mounted on this big bay horse, and he was leading a sort of cavalcade with a cart that was being drawn by a couple of mules through the city also. Well guarded, heading towards the Dragon's Heart district.
Is it paddy wagon type cart or like open cart?
That's just about what I was about to ask.
Covered wagon. So you can't see exactly what's in it. Not a passenger wagon, but like a cargo wagon that just has a cover over it. So you're starting to see civilians now come back at this point. A few of them come into the shop, and you're hearing rustling. You're hearing a little bit of clanging. You see a shorter, smaller individual go racing off up the road just a little bit and come back guiding in an older, slightly slower figure who's got some sort of heavy bag at their waist. All told, it's 45 minutes later where Harker comes slowly limping back across the courtyard to the house where Sarai has been hiding. He disappears slightly out of your view, shortly about 2/3 away across the courtyard.
As soon as I see him looking like he's going to enter the house, I'm going to make my way back downstairs and wait for him in between, basically standing in front of the room where Sarai is.
Okay. Yeah, if you move quickly enough, Harker is not moving very fast right now. Walking and almost limping. So you can move quickly and get there in front of him, and you can see the most prominent thing that you can see from him is half of his face is now completely swollen. There's a trickle of blood from slit skin around his eye. He sees you standing between him and the door, and his shoulders just sort of drop, and he says, "It's over. It should be safe to come out, but I wouldn't hang about long, just in case."
What happened?
Gertie's was raided.
Why?
Officially for a charter infraction. Apparently, at some point, some rumor got around that Sarai had been seen there, not just once, but several times.
Do we know the source of these rumors, or just
I was not permitted to be a part of that investigation.
What about the two that were with you?
No. They don't know anything. I tried. I got word as soon as I could. We're lucky I got there before they did. But Sarai needs to come back to safety. I'm going to take her back to the catacombs. You do what you want.
How's
And-
Gertie?
She's alive. She'll probably recover.
Wow, that's
The medic will be with her shortly, if he's not already.
I'll see what I can do to speed things along. Do they know about the rest of us, or just looking for Sarai?
Why would they know about the rest of you? Didn't you hear the bells? The Arbiter's just come into the city. He's meeting with the Archpriest, assumedly. Doing what those folk do. Who knows? Sarai's the one they want. Sarai and Venera.
For the moment, Venera's well beyond their reach. I may send Sarai there as well.
You do what you're going to do. I'm going to get her to safety the best that I can, and now get out of my way.
Do you really think you're in a position to give orders at this moment?
I don't think you're in a position to stop me. I am very quickly losing my patience. Now move, or I will move you. We have to get her back to safety.
Oh, I intend on it. And I'll point at, kind of do the little turnaround and point up at Nightbane. I think I trust him to keep her safe more than I do you at the moment. You're going to be under just as much suspicion as anyone else, having shown your incompetence. Great job, by the way. And no sarcasm. Truly, great job getting her out. That being said, you just shown up as, in whoever that was, mind, as incompetent. They're probably going to be keeping an eye on you as much as anyone else. The little I was able to see is that they are hunting for her harder than even we knew. I think it'd be best to get her farther away than just the catacombs.
Regardless, she can't stay here.
Fair enough.
You are a stranger to all of this, and forgive me, you have no idea what we have been through. The catacombs have been sufficient. And yes, there may be somewhere better. And we will get there. But they're better than here right now. Can you get her to safety now? Is that something you can do?
Do the catacombs lead outside of the city? Do any of the tunnels lead outside of the city?
Why?
Because outside of the city is the safest place for her. And I do happen to know, if I can hide her till tomorrow, I do happen to know someone who can keep her safe and get her beyond the reach of anyone in Dragenthrone.
At this point, you hear a voice from behind you. Thank you very much, but I believe that is a decision I can make for myself. I would appreciate it if both of you would stop talking about me as if I have no say in what I'm doing. You see Sarai standing just inside the doorway, in the process of handing Lyra back to her mother. The catacombs will be fine for tonight. We will discuss this in the morning. Thank you, Val, for your endeavors to protect me. Harker, you will not make decisions for me, but thank you for your warning. Now let's go. Val, are you coming with us or not?
I'll escort you to the entrance, but then I need to check on Gertie.
As you will. If you would escort her to the catacombs, if it is safe to do so, I can do more for her there tonight.
Where's the closest entrance?
Go through the houses. Morita here will lead you if necessary. There's an alley 200 feet away with a sewer entrance. Follow the sewer entrance. You should be able to find our path back through there. It'd get you back to the catacombs.
And I wouldn't want to put anyone else in danger, so I have the ability to keep from getting lost, or at least too lost anyway. I'll get Gertie and meet you down there as soon as possible.
Very well. Morita, did you have the... Hi, I'll go grab it. The woman with Lyra on her hip goes, and you see her moving quickly up the stairs. Brief moment later, she comes back with a dark dress and veil. Sarai looks at you, sort of eyeing, and she says, "Nobody likes to look at a mourner. It's another layer of protection." And you see her very quickly get dressed into this sort of oversized, shapeless garment, and the veil wraps over her head and covers her face, disguising her features a little bit. Harker, will you escort a newly grieving widow to mourn? Harker sort of gives you a side eye, does a very stiff bow, as you will, and the two of them start slowly walking off. Are you coming with them, seeing where the entrance is?
Yeah, I'll follow them to the entrance, and when we get there, I'll just tell her, if you run into any problems, please send me a message if you can. I'll be along with Gertie as soon as possible.
If you could help her, I would appreciate your assistance. It's too dangerous for me to go back to the shop itself, but...
That's fair. And I'll, once they're in the entrance closed, I'll make my way back to Gertie's.
Okay. While you're doing that, we are... Yes?
So Nightbane's last order was to absolutely protect Sarai.
Mm-hmm.
So just so everyone's on the same page, he's with her, right?
Yeah, he followed along.
Very
He didn't go into the house with her.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah, he's been following along and doing his best to keep an eye on things to the best of his ability.
Yeah, he's in the tunnels with her as they're going down.
Okay.
Cool.
Good deal.
That was really fun watching the two of them just have a dick measuring contest.
So we are going to get a brief glimpse. We're going to go ahead and pause session here for tonight.
No,
because it is getting to that time. We are going to pick back up, just so y'all are aware. Ryan Halberd, we're going to start with the ritual with y'all next time.
Okay.
But there's so much.
Yuki, I wanted to have more fun times.
Oh,
hey, shut up, alarm! I know it's bedtime.
10 more hours.
Oh,
So
That's what
thank
happens
you.
when we change our recording time.
right.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on this adventure with us. That was a lot of fun, guys.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
way to go. This is why
Yeah.
we don't split the party.
There was a lot that happened, and there's still a lot coming.
Oh, so much.
I think I
So-
can we break that?
I'm terrified of whatever Casator has concocted. But I'm
I'm
so
so excited for
Now
this.
he has a whole week to think about.
Exactly
Yeah.
how he wants to do
whatever it is, he's one to pull.
Best of luck, you two.
that. Right? I thought I was in trouble.
We're
So,
gonna get arrested. It's
we'll
gonna
pick
be-
back up with Ryan Halberd at the start of the ritual to try and cleanse Venera of this curse, this enchantment on her. And then jump back into the action from there. So thank you. We hope that y'all take care of yourselves this week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Come back and see us next time. Thank you guys. Bye.